All right, let's pause. Can you give me a beep? And then we'll go.
Perfect.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Making the Call. Welcome back, actually, to Making the Call. We took a unexpected hiatus last week, but we are back here to talk about NFL Week 11 action, among other things. I've got Rosie here with me. We've got the two Andrews holding down the fort.
Yes, sir.
Most people might not know your first name is Andrew. You go by Drew, but your friends call you Rosie.
Right. And I go by Andrew at work.
Oh, do you actually?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's funny. But it's just you.
So actually, when some of them tuned into the Substack article, and they were like, "Why are you so high on the Cowboys? I thought you didn't like them." I was like, "Oh no, I'm Rosie on that one."
You're like, "Oh no, I can explain. Please don't accuse me of that."
Yeah, that's not me. That's not me.
Oh, just give me a second. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. But yeah, it's Rosie and I holding down the fort this week. We've got Trent traveling. Alex is working late. I forget what Austin's excuse was. Did he ever say? I don't think he did.
Know.
Austin's excuse is that he's a dad. Rosie can't use that excuse yet, but his time is coming.
Yeah.
His time is coming. So before we get into our one big headline of the week and NFL Week 11 and all that stuff, programming reminders. So you just talked about the Substack, Making the Call, the Friday football newsletter. We're actually moving it up a couple days this week. Only this week. We're going to be releasing the newsletter on Wednesday. With Thanksgiving being on Thursday, we've got so much sports happening this week. We've got football. Obviously, we've got 3 NFL games on Thursday. We've got an NFL game on Friday. We've got college football games starting Thursday. This is rivalry week. We want to make sure that we have everything covered. So we're going to be releasing that newsletter on Wednesday. So be looking out for that. The best way that you can see whenever we release a newsletter is just go ahead and subscribe to the Making the Call Substack. It's free to subscribe. You'll get it directly in your inbox. You can also download the beautiful Substack app where you can join our daily gambling thread where we're posting prop picks and parlays and all that good stuff. Where last night was a rough one for me from an NBA standpoint, but overall we are still positive on the season. Listener Matt had a beautiful 6 for 6 last week. I mean, it was awesome.
Attaboy.
Legendary. So we, for the most part, we post winners in the Making the Call Substack. So go check that out. Today we'll have a link to it in the notes of this episode.
I've been on a heat or two with my Substack articles. 2 weeks ago, I said to buy low on Trevor Lawrence. Little guest appearance.
Yeah, Trent just hopped into the Discord and then peaced out. He's currently in the Cayman Islands, or maybe I shouldn't disclose. He's currently on an island. That's all I'll say. We'll bleep out the other part. Yeah, yeah, in Cayman. But no, okay. Tell us about your parlay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my one big headline.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Then sorry. Let me finish. Program reminder. So we mentioned the football newsletter. Update on our bets contest. So it looks like based on how things are shaking out right now, the listeners will be getting 1 hour of Pastor Austin at the end of the football season. Because to remind the listeners, the 5 of us are doing a picks contest throughout the NFL season. Whoever comes in last place will have to do a 1 hour podcast all by themselves. No guests, just them and their thoughts. And let's see. So Trent and I are in first place at 6-5. Alex also has 6 wins, but he's 6-6. But he did a plus 250. It was actually a plus 300 money line pick 2 weeks ago. Broncos over the Bills, so that counted for 2. And then Rosie is at 5-6, and Austin is at 4-7. So that is how things currently stand.
Oh boy, towards the bottom.
Hey, you just gotta. It's like what they say about outrunning a bear. You just have to outrun your friend. You just have to match Austin from this point forward, and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
So
and you feed him some bad information so that he does it bad.
Well, he lost this week betting on your Lions, -7.5 versus the Bears.
And you keep doing that.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our one big headline of the week. You can go ahead and start us off.
I hit my first 5-leg parlay.
Really?
Yes, I'm not a very good bettor, and I've only been doing it for like a year. And I mean, we're halfway through the NFL season, and this is the only sport I watch that I could bet on. And so I was like, you know what? I like these bets right now. I'll just string them together. So I went Eckler over 55.5 rushing yards that hit. DTR over half an interception. Tony Pollard called the anytime touchdown.
Oh, did you? First time since week 1. Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
I knew Carolina's run defense was worse in the league, so if it was going to happen, it was
Wow.
going to happen.
That's
DJ
impressive.
Moore over 59.5 receiving yards. I knew the Lions were going to suck against DJ Moore. So, and then last but not least, Dave Montgomery over 51.5 rushing yards. And I was getting a little bit nervous because that was the last one, and he was at 49 rushing yards.
He was.
The Bears
with like 4 minutes left too. Like it was.
Yep. The Bears had a 9-minute drive in the fourth quarter, and I was like, "Oh no, are they going to get the ball back?" And they did, and they started Gibbs first, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to lose by a yard." But it hit. It was a very good week for me.
5 for 5. That's beautiful. It's such a good feeling.
It is. It's really great.
Like you put it together, and then you get like, the first 2 hit, and you're like, all right, feeling good. You start mapping out how the other ones might hit. You're like, okay, I need this many yards, so like let's get like this much by halftime, and then okay, we'll be feeling good. Then the third one hits, and then the fourth one hits. You're like, all right, baby, come on, bring us home, and the fact that
DTR threw that interception, I was like, all right, we're in. We're in play.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. All right. My one big headline is just what a glorious week of sports we have ahead of us. Yeah. So college basketball, this is feast week, which this is whenever we do all the invitationals, all the tournaments where you've got, I think I was reading ESPN had something about it because they're broadcast, they broadcast a lot of college basketball, and it's going to be like over 150 hours of coverage over the next, over a 10-day stretch, like literally just games all day long. You've got the Maui Invitational going on. Actually, as we're recording this, Gonzaga and Purdue are playing in the Maui Invitational. Then you've got the Battle for Atlantis. You've got the NIT season tip-off, who our Baylor Bears are playing in. You've got the Vegas Showdown. I mean, it's just people are taking time off work. You've got some downtime this week. I guarantee you there will be college basketball on at any given point. I mean, from literally 10 a.m. until 2 a.m. because of all, the Hawaii time zone. So this is just, it's a great week for college basketball. And then not even college basketball, NFL, we've got 3 games on Thanksgiving. Obviously, both of our teams, Lions and the Cowboys, always play on Thanksgiving. And then we got, I believe, I forget who the Thursday night game is, but and then we got
Seahawks Niners.
Okay, so Alex's team. So 3 out of the 4 making the call teams are represented here on Thanksgiving this year. And then Friday, we've got the first ever Black Friday game between the Dolphins and the Jets, which should be a little interesting with Mr. Boyle at quarterback. I'm sure we might talk about that a little bit. And then we also have the college football rivalry week where you got Ohio State versus Michigan, LSU versus Texas A&M, Oregon State versus Oregon, which is on Friday night. I mean, this is there's so much sports going on. I just cannot wait between the basketball and all the football and everything. And Trent's Stars, actually all of our Dallas Stars are, let me check the standings here. Last I checked, they're first in the Western Conference, 23 points. They're 11-4 with 1 overtime loss. I mean,
all right.
I saw some projections where they are projected with the best odds to win the Stanley Cup at this point in the season. This is a good sports time. You got your Lions. I saw a stat about the Lions. They're 8-2 for the first time since 1961 or something.
Yeah.
Hey, things are looking up. I mean,
what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. Who would have thought? All right. Speaking of your Lions, speaking of the NFL, let's get into NFL Week 11 takeaways. Do you want to start us off? I've got a handful, but you got anything that you want to get off your chest here first? It could be Lions related, or it could be about anything else.
Well, you gave me my kudos in the group text, but I think Tank Dell might be the best rookie receiver this year in 2023.
Trying to think. Okay, so who else do we have? We have Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnston. Zay Flowers is probably the only legitimate argument, but
Jordan Addison.
Oh, okay, yeah, Jordan Addison. Trim would be mad at us for leaving him off.
And Puka Nakua.
Oh shoot. Okay, so yeah.
No, there's a lot. There's a
lot, but make the case for Tank.
I mean, he has just been incredible the last few weeks. I think he got hurt in the middle of the season, but
yeah, he had like a concussion that took like 3 weeks to recover from.
Yeah, it took him a long time, and the Texans in general have just been swapping guys in and out of the receiving room lineup every week. But he had 29.9 points against the Cardinals. I think part of the reason why CJ Stroud looks so good is because Tank Dell is elite. Like, he's legit elite.
Yeah, I mean, you were really high on him during the offseason. You were doing all your rookie rankings. I was actually going to see here real quick if I could pull up your rookie rankings from before the draft, like post-draft, all that stuff. Okay, top 100 dynasty rankings. That's probably, yeah, we can. Oh, no, here we go. Dynasty Fantasy Football top 25 rankings. So this is from the Making the Call Substack. You've been doing updates to all your rankings.
Every now and then, yeah.
That's like one of the things you've done on as your fantasy segment. And you had him as your rookie number 22. Right behind guys like Zay Flowers, Luke Musgrave, Michael Mayer, Marvin Mims. If you were redrafting all these rookies, like quarterbacks included, he doesn't go past the top 5?
No, I mean it's probably
so your top 5.
Gibbs.
Your top 5 was Bijan, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, C.J. Stroud, and then it was Jahmyr Gibbs, Jordan Addison, JSN, Quentin Johnston, and Tank Bigsby.
Yeah, I mean Tank's out.
Yeah,
swap the Tank for the Tank, but
Quentin Johnston's out.
Oh yeah, he's out too. Probably Bryce Young and Will Levis at this point. I mean,
probably JSN at this point.
Yeah, JSN at this point, and then it's a pretty tough argument between. I mean, you have to put Stroud 1.
So I think this is pretty easy. So I think top 5 in any order is, I'm just going in order of where you had them pre-draft. So Bijan, CJ Stroud. Oh, actually, this is 6. So I think the 6 are Bijan, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jordan Addison, and Tank Dell. And then
that's probably how
Zay Flowers is probably the 7th.
I would probably put Puka at 7.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. And then Zay I like Josh Downs coming out too, and he's been really good. Just been hurt the last couple of weeks, so we kind of forgot about him. Mm-hmm. But I mean,
and Achane. I mean,
oh yeah,
we didn't even mention him.
You have to put Achane.
Yeah, we didn't even mention him.
I'll tell you what. Like, I think people are going to forget about him because he's going to be out for a while. If wait like 1 week, and then start in Dynasty, start making trades for him because he should be a top 10 Dynasty running back.
I was seeing some reports that he re-aggravated his knees, so he might be out like the rest of the season.
Yeah. So, I mean, the news is fresh, so I think the Achane people are hurting right now. But, I mean, just wait a little bit and then pounce on it because I think you can get him for way cheaper than he will be next year.
But you know what? I mean, so that's a very good point. But I think what's cool is, like, we listed off some of those guys, and then we just mentioned some that we didn't even get to, like Achane and Puka and Zay Flowers. Like, there's at least 10, like, legitimate rookies from this class from, like, a dynasty fantasy standpoint that, like, you're ecstatic if you have any of them. And we didn't even mention, the tight ends, Kincaid or Mayer, who, like, tight ends always start off slow. Laporta. You mentioned Downs. I mean, I even think Jonathan Mingo has shown flashes with Carolina. Luke Musgrave. I mean, there's
a lot.
This was a good rookie class. I mean, there were definitely some misses. Like Quentin Johnston has not looked good at all. But overall, you're feeling pretty happy if you have any of these top rookies.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a great class, especially if you've had like late round picks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in a league that I'm like full on rebuilding, like I have like 6 first round picks and like 6 second round picks. Like I've just been like trading away everyone. I grabbed so I had a bunch of first round picks last year. And so I have like CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Dalton Kincaid. And then I've got Achan, I've got Zay Flowers, I've got Tank Dell, I've got JSN, Michael Mayer. Like I've got all these rookies, and I'm like,
that feels like a great get.
And Josh Downs, yeah.
Wow.
So
those are all starters. So
yes, yeah. But no, it was a really good rookie class. Okay, but all that to say, we kind of got on a tangent with your first takeaway. Tank Dell might be the best one, which is pretty cool.
He might be.
Yeah. All right, my first one. So right before we start the podcast, we go live on the YouTube. Which again, subscribe to the YouTube. And I always ask like, oh, what should I make the title of this YouTube stream this week? And what I decided on this for this episode was, is Dak Prescott the best quarterback in the NFL? Because Rosie, I don't know if you've seen the news, but there's this little known website. It's kind of like a startup company. It's called PFF, stands for like Pro Football Focus. I don't know if you've heard of it, but
we only listen to them when it fits our narrative.
Exactly. This is one of my favorite sites. Yes. Well, they grade out, they grade out every player basically. Dak Prescott is now the highest graded quarterback in the NFL this season. He has a higher grade than Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. He's number 1, which I think is pretty cool.
Who was number 1 before this last week?
From looking at like who's number 2, I'm guessing it was probably Josh Allen. No,
it was Jared Goff was number 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was number 1 for the whole season until this last game, which he deserves to get bumped down a couple notches.
But I think
PFS is like a great, like where we stand right now, like who's playing really well. It is great for that. Mm-hmm. And Dak has played extremely well. He has played like the best quarterback in the league. And honestly, like with the Cowboys team right now, it's hard to like look and see where they're weak. Like even on the other side of the ball with Deron Bland, like
he's got more touchdowns than like most than some wide receiver rooms this year.
I mean, he's playing better than Diggs did when Diggs was going on his Linsanity interception spree. But like he's better than Diggs. So and then Brandon Cooks, speaking of PFF, I think he was grading it at like high 90s, or not high 90s, low 90s these last couple weeks. He's finally turned it on, and that's something that the Cowboys receiving room needed. It was a wide receiver too, with CeeDee Lamb. So like they're on a roll.
Yeah, no, I mean, so the Cowboys, I was trying to find the stat. I believe it was, I can't find it. I forget where I saw it, but I saw the stat where it said that the Cowboys, do you remember, I think it was on the podcast 2 weeks ago where I basically made a big point of saying like, thank you, Mike McCarthy, for figuring out, hey, let's let Dak run this offense and get CeeDee Lamb involved. Like, shocker, you're going to put up points if you do that. Since the Cowboys bye week, the Cowboys are the most pass happy in run situations in the NFL. Like, they are most likely to pass on first down, to pass on short yardage situations. Like, they are just, McCarthy has turned the offense. He has given the keys over to Dak and CeeDee Lamb and said, hey, these guys are really good. Like Tony Pollard has lost a step since injury. Dowdle is a nice player, but let's get our dynamic guys out in space and let them cook. And that's what we've seen. Now, yes, you can make the case that they have gone up against not very good opponents, but I do want to mention the fact that, they blow out the Rams and everyone's like, oh, it's just the Rams. Well, the Rams just beat Seattle this week. So like the Rams aren't, a Super Bowl contender, but they're still a good football team. And I think it's nice that I feel like the Cowboys are kind of going under the radar right now, which is, as a Cowboys fan, I'm all for. Like I like that people are focusing on other teams and the Cowboys can just show up, win games, and it's all going to come down to in a few weeks whenever they play Philly in Dallas. And that's going to be like the big game, right? To see if they can split the series against Philly and potentially maybe try to win the division. But I mean, as someone who has been a very avid Dak defender on this podcast, it's been nice to see him have a nice bounce back season from what was a really bad season last year.
Yeah, he's played really, really well, and I think they can beat the Eagles. I think they're built to beat the Eagles. What was the score last time they played?
I mean, it was a one-score game, and
yeah.
I'm pulling it up right now. If Dak, we were just singing his praises. If he doesn't step out of bounds on that run, on that 2-point conversion, they win that game. 28-23 was the Philly score.
Yeah, I think that they're capable of beating the Eagles. I think they're in that tier. I think you just hope that they don't play the Niners in the playoffs.
Yeah, I know. I hope so too. I'm going to get out in front of this right now. Now, this is a big hypothetical. So they play the Commanders and the Seahawks these next 2 weeks, both Thursday games. Obviously, Commanders is going to be on Thanksgiving. Let's say they take care of business in those two games, and so they're 9-3. Then they got a 4-week stretch of Eagles at home, Bills on the road, Dolphins on the road, Lions at home. I'm putting this out there right now because the counting stats are there. If the Cowboys are 3-1 over that 4-game stretch, you're gonna see the Dak for MVP media story just catch on like wildfire, because these MVP awards are all driven by the narrative. It's all driven by kind of the groupthink of like the NFL collective. And if the Cowboys go 3-1 over that 4-week stretch, let's say the Eagles lose tonight or they lose another game, and now the Cowboys are sitting atop of the division and atop of the NFC, there's going to be Dak for MVP discussions happening. Again,
and there probably should be. There should be.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd probably be my front runner at this point. Like, I don't know if, like, I guess I've been a Dak hater. I think that's just countering all the Dak love. But
you probably fall in the middle on this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, slightly towards the, not for lack of a better term, slightly towards the hater side of the spectrum, but I'd say Trent is further on that side than you are.
Right. And I think he's a good quarterback. I think that he's missing things that I like in quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But
doesn't have the biggest arm. He doesn't run a lot since the injuries. Like he is kind of a typical pocket passer. And I'll make this comparison, and this is not, I'm not making this comparison to say that these two guys are the same in any way in terms of like total career, but he plays a lot like Tom Brady did in like the last like 3 to 5 years of his career, where like can be surgical, can pick apart a defense, is not going to have the huge athletic arm to make these crazy throws that like a Herbert or an Allen or a Mahomes makes, but can do enough damage from the pocket that you can win with him.
Kind of like a Drew Brees.
Yeah, Drew Brees, yes. That prototype of quarterback, I think.
Yeah, and I think right now we're kind of missing that guy since Tom Brady retired. Like, I think you could say that might have been Aaron Rodgers, but there's no guy that's like that, and maybe Dak can step into that. Maybe Goff could too. I think
that's fair. Yeah.
Brock Purdy seems a lot like him. So those types of quarterbacks are kind of absent. But I mean, when they have a good team, like Cowboys, Niners, Lions, those quarterbacks can win for sure.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Give me another takeaway.
Well, a quarterback that's losing, and it is not his fault. Justin Herbert. Let's talk about him for a second. He finally lost it, man. He screamed at his lineman. I've never seen, like, he seems like such an introverted dude, but he just like lost it. Screamed at his lineman, threw his helmet. Like, they lost to the miserable Packers, and Keenan Allen dropped 2 touchdown passes. Quentin Johnson dropped another wide open, hit him in the hands.
Yep.
I mean, you just feel really bad for the guy. And Staley lost it in the press conference, screaming at the reporters, saying, like, I'm going to call the plays on defense. I'm going to call the plays. Like, maybe you're being asked that because the defense isn't very good.
Yeah. Maybe you're being asked that because the defense hasn't been good your entire tenure and you're a defensive coach.
Yeah. And you can excuse that when you don't have the personnel. And I wouldn't say the Chargers have like the best defensive personnel, but they have guys. Like, it's not a bunch of scrubs. They have guys, and the defense has severely underperformed. And then the offense, I mean, I think it's been better since Kellen Moore has been there. But, I mean, they're missing something, and I think they just need a clean house. They just need a clean house and have the best guy for Herbert.
The Chargers have the 29th ranked defense in terms of DVOA this season. They're ahead of the Commanders, the Cardinals, and the Broncos. They have a better defense by DVOA, or they have a worse defense by DVOA than the Panthers and the Giants and the Bears. And they have a defensive head coach.
Yeah. And Khalil Mack, Derwin James, Asante Samuel.
Yeah, they have dudes.
Joey Bosa.
That's the thing. They have dudes.
Yeah. It should not be this bad. It should not be this bad.
Yeah.
I think he might be the next coach fired.
He has to be.
At this point, it's either him or Ron Rivera.
They have the 8th best DVOA on offense this season. Better than they're 8th. The Texans are 9th, and the Cowboys are 10th. So this is a good takeaway by you, and I have not been afraid to criticize Herbert at times on this podcast, but I fully agree with you that he is not the problem with the Chargers this season.
Yeah.
I mean,
the GM should be fired for taking Quentin Johnson over Jordan Addison. Like that was an easy decision at the time, I think. And Addison was a perfect fit. I mean, they brought in Quentin Johnson even though they already had another big guy.
They already had Mike Williams, yep.
Like, it doesn't really make sense at the time, and now it looks even worse than that.
Yeah, because you're right. Addison's like the burner that they needed. Like, they had the big contested catch guy with Williams. They had the surgical route runner with Keenan Allen. They needed a speedster.
Yeah.
Who can just...
It was the perfect fit. They just... I don't know.
Yeah. They feel like it's... That team, to me, there just doesn't seem like there's a lot of, like, young juice on that roster. Like, the guys we just mentioned, like Johnston, he's a rookie, but he hasn't done anything. Eckler's old. Keenan Allen's old. Mike Williams is old. Asante Samuel's old. Khalil Mack is old.
Asante Samuel's pretty young, actually.
Okay. Derwin James is like...
He's
just past his prime, I would say. Like, he's not old, but he's not like, first or second year in the league. Like, it doesn't feel like a roster. It feels like they should have a better roster considering the fact that they've had a quarterback on a rookie contract. Win with.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they've signed the right guys with like Khalil Mack and all that, but I'm going to pull up their draft history.
Well, I imagine it's not very good.
I'm curious.
But no, I feel bad for the 10 Chargers fans out there. Because you have this...
Just go on over to the Rams, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's not much better over there. At least they had a Super Bowl, but you can't jump on now. it stinks because Herbert. So in that same tweet that was saying that Dak is now the highest rated quarterback in the NFL, top 5 for just this past week alone, Herbert was number 1, and he was the highest grade by more than 10 points.
Oh man. And
he was doing everything.
Yeah, he was the. I mean, against the Lions too last week, he was incredible. He only threw darts. He had one interception, but it was a great play by the defense.
His grade was more than 10 points higher than Brock Purdy, who had a perfect quarterback rating. Think about that.
I mean, what more can you do? What more can you do?
Yeah.
Their draft history is actually pretty good, to be honest. I mean, there's like 1 or 2 names in every draft class that are solid.
Yeah.
But
I think it's just the coach.
Yeah.
I think they need, like, believe me, this is not the same sport, but as someone of the now world champion Texas Rangers, you bring in a World Series manager like Bruce Bochy, and it changes everything. Like, this team lost 90 games last year, and they won the World Series this year. And I bet if they replace Brandon Staley with a really good head coach, like you're not gonna like to hear this. Well, maybe you. I don't know how you feel about this because you're.
I know what you're gonna say. I'm glad you brought it up, so I didn't have to.
But you put Ben Johnson.
Oh yeah.
In the head coaching position.
Oh man, I would love it. I mean, I think Ben Johnson cannot stay as an offensive coordinator at this point. He is way too good at what he does to not be a head coach somewhere. And
or even go ahead.
I was just going to say, if I were to pick any place for him to go, it would be the Chargers.
See, or even like, okay, so Brandon Staley, defensive guy. Offense is clearly fine with Herbert. Like, imagine if they had DeMeco Ryans. He didn't go to Houston.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a team. Like, he comes in and changes the culture down there. And yeah, Stroud has been great, but like, that the entire team, like the defense looks a lot better than it was last year.
Way
and,
better.
Like, I know they drafted Will Anderson, and like now they're, Stingley has been for the most part healthy, but like I'm imagining if DeMeco Ryans was in LA for the Chargers, how much better this Chargers team, like how much better that defense would be with all of that talent, all that name recognition. Jeez.
Absolutely.
All right, my next take, or my next takeaway, I should say. It's a question that I want to pose to you because I saw a stat that got me thinking about it. Could this Browns defense, now let me set the stage here because it's been injuries galore, right? The Bengals just lose Joe Burrow for the year. The Bills, they're not injured, but they just fired their offensive coordinator and they are, not in a good spot. I definitely did write about this in the Making the Call Substack either last week or the week before. Like, all these top teams this year, they all have holes. Like, you can find glaring weaknesses with every single one of them. So with that said, can the Browns defense single-handedly win a Super Bowl this season?
No. I'm sorry. I mean, it'd be fun. I'm not sure they can beat any of the top teams.
Are you sure? Even with Joe Flacco, he's coming in. Did you know that?
Oh man, I kind of hope we get a Browns-Ravens game though. That'd be fun.
So this is a stat from Computer Cowboy on Twitter. He runs like the big EPA website that I get a lot of my EPA stats from. He says that through 11 weeks, so this is since 1999, which is when we first started tracking like EPA and like all these like analytical stats. They go back to 1999. Through 11 weeks, the Browns defense has been the hardest ever to earn a first down against relative to league average. So you take league average, how hard it is to get first downs against defenses. The Browns are the best of any defense since 1999. So they are 14 points higher. So this says average series conversion rate in 2023 is 70%. The Browns have allowed it at 56%. Next best, 2019 Patriots. Believe they won a Super Bowl. Did they not? No. 2020 was Tampa Bay. 2019 would have been Kansas City. Number 3, 2005 Chicago Bears. Number 4, 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was what, the year they won the Super Bowl, the year after they won the Super Bowl. 2003 Cowboys are number 7. I mean, it's just 2010 Giants, number 9. They definitely won a Super Bowl in 2010. That was when they beat the Patriots. 2000 Ravens, who everyone says is like the gold standard, best defense ever, is 15th on this list. So, I mean, the Browns, they win a game last week or this week against the Steelers. Now, granted, it was the Steelers, but they're suffocating these teams. And they probably aren't going to win the Super Bowl because they don't have a quarterback. But could they get to an AFC title game strictly by their defense only allowing like 10 points? I think so. Like this year, I think they could do that. And I just wanted to give them recognition because what they're doing is truly special.
I think we should have a serious conversation about Myles Garrett for MVP as well.
Agreed.
He has been torching every single defense or offensive line that he's come against. Just annihilating anyone that's across from him.
It's a shame that Austin isn't on this podcast because so far we've talked about Dak potential MVP and Myles Garrett potential MVP, and he would just be losing his mind right now. It's like his 2 favorite players.
Oh, yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right about Myles Garrett. And I mean, this Browns defense, like it's unbelievable what they're doing. They probably can't win a Super Bowl because you need at least competency at quarterback, and they don't have that. But they're just ridiculous. Yeah, they're insane. All right.
That's a fun one.
Do you have another one?
If we could talk about the Lions for a second.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if there is a better offensive situation in the NFL than the Lions right now. And by what I mean by that is that's kind of excluding the quarterback. Because I think if you just put any quarterback in this situation, I don't know how they fail. Best offensive line in the league. Amon-Ra is a top 5 receiver at this point. I think you have
completely
to call it
agree.
top.
Yeah.
David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are just... I don't really know how you stop them when you have the best offensive line in the league. Like, Montgomery basically won that game against the Bears down the stretch.
Revenge game.
Yeah, revenge game. Everyone knew it was 20 seconds left, no timeouts, on the goal line at the 1. Everyone knew David Montgomery was going to get the ball. Everyone in the stadium knew. And he didn't get touched while walking into the end zone. And then you pair that with probably the best play caller in the league in Ben Johnson. They had a play on the Lions' first touchdown to Gibbs. They had their practice squad guard line up at slot receiver on the right side. They had Sam Laporta motion over to the right side. They love wham blocks. I'm sure the defense knows that too. Ball snapped. Everyone's shifting to the right. Goff tosses it to the left. Gibbs walks in. Like, Ben Johnson is just on another level. He really is.
He's on a heater right now. It's impressive.
So, I mean, I think that they... Goff, listen, he's not as bad as I thought he was, but he's not that good. Let's be honest. Like, I don't have any bias for him. But I think the situation is good enough to where they could beat any team.
Can you imagine? I mean, I agree with you. The Lions offense is scary. And I think what makes an offense so scary is the fact that they can beat you in so many ways. And usually with teams, it usually always comes down to the quarterback. And you always say, well, okay, if it's 3rd and 8 and there's 3 minutes left in the game and you're down by a touchdown, is Jared Goff going to make that play? Or is this whenever you need those difference makers, when you need a Mahomes or Herbert or whoever? But I think Ben Johnson is so good. Their offensive line is good. And they have so many dynamic skill position players that, okay, maybe like Jared Goff isn't Mahomes, but can he throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown and let Amon-Ra St. Brown make a play? Can he, if it breaks down, can he throw it to Jahmyr Gibbs in the flat and he's one-on-one on an island against a linebacker and you're counting on him to make that guy miss to get a first down? I like your chances in that situation.
Oh, yeah. And he fits it into tight windows, too. Like, he's not, like, on the Jimmy G scale. I think he is on the Jimmy G scale. But, I mean, he's better than Jimmy G. He throws good balls. And even he threw 3 interceptions yesterday. 2 of those were probably not his fault. One was a tip, and the other one was a clear PI that just didn't get called.
Yeah.
And then you add Jameson Williams to this, and Jameson Williams is so freaking fast. It is incredible, and him paired with the Amon-Ra is just scary because you're going to have to watch one of them. And Amon-Ra is so good in the middle of the field, and Jameson Williams can get behind you so easily. Plus the run game, I don't really know how you stop it unless Goff throws 5 interceptions in a game.
Yeah, no, that's fair. The Lions are really good. I'm really happy for you that you're getting a really good Lions team because they feel like they're good enough to really make a run at this, especially in the NFC, I would say. To where they have enough difference makers both sides of the ball, and it just feels like everything's working together, and it kind of feels funny to just like sing the praises of the Lions after they almost lost to the Bears.
Yeah.
Like they were doing everything they could to lose that game, and they still won, which is what good teams do. Good teams will find themselves in a game that it should not be as close as it is, and they figure out a way to win. And that's what the Lions did, which is very impressive.
Yep.
All right, my last takeaway. This isn't Week 11 specific. It's more so just looking ahead. I am hyped for the next few weeks in the NFL. Here are some of the top matchups that we're going to get over the next 4 weeks. So next week, Week 12, we get Jacksonville at Houston with like massive division ramifications on the line in that game. Both teams are playing very good ball right now. I know Jacksonville lost 2 weeks ago in a bad one against San Francisco, but before that they had won 5 straight. And then obviously we've talked a lot about CJ Stroud and the Texans on these airwaves. That's going to be a great game. And then we get Buffalo at Philly.
That's a big one.
Yeah, I don't have to say how important that game is for both teams. Buffalo's trying to keep their season alive. Philly's trying to hold on to the 1 seed, especially if Philly loses tonight, which, knock on wood, I'm not jinxing it. But if they do, then that game against Buffalo becomes very important because then Philly only has a 1-game lead over Dallas. And they've got San Francisco just chomping at the bit to come grab that 1 seed. So we have those Week 12. Week 13, you have Seattle at Dallas on Thursday night. You've got Detroit at New Orleans, which will be a fun one. 2 division leaders. I mean, New Orleans is kind of underrated because they're not.
Because they're bad?
Well, their offense is actually pretty good, and Jameis makes any game interesting. So automatically increases the watchability of that game.
Oh, you think it's going to be Jameis?
Will it not? You think Carr will be back?
Yeah, I think they have their bye right now. I don't think it was a bad injury. It was a concussion in shoulder, mostly concussion.
Okay.
So
you have that game, and then San Francisco at Philly, Week 13. Massive NFC game.
Oh, boy.
Then you turn your attention to Week 14. You got Jacksonville at Cleveland. You've got Seattle at San Francisco, Buffalo at Kansas City, and Philly at Dallas. I mean,
And Broncos at Chargers too. That could decide the wild card spot as
that's
well.
true. Yeah, that's very true. And Broncos are playing good ball right now. I mean, they're finding ways to win.
Yeah, somehow.
Somehow.
Throw it up to Sutton and you'll one hand catch it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then week 15, Dallas at Buffalo, Philly at Seattle, Baltimore at Jacksonville. I mean,
oh man,
this next month is going to decide not only which teams are making the playoffs, which teams are winning their divisions, which teams are getting the 1 seed. Like, there is huge ramifications over this next month. And
Scott Hansen would say, this is the season witching hour.
This is the witching hour of the season. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. All right. Well, so I know that we're on a bit of a time crunch this week. Do you have one more takeaway, or was that all you had?
I think that's it, unless there's something else you want to talk about in the next 5 minutes.
I guess real quick. So I did write this down. I think there's only 2 division races that are interesting, and they're both in the AFC, and it's the AFC North and the AFC South. With Baltimore and Cleveland and Pittsburgh battling it out, and then
Rest in peace, Bengals.
Yes,
Joe Burrow out
that's
for the
such
year.
a bummer.
It's
like
they were playing so well. I mean, they lost to the Texans, but
which is not a bad loss.
No, before the Texans lost, people were saying Bengals might be
the team,
the best team. Yeah, they might be the best team, and you lose Burrow for the year.
Yeah.
I mean, the best you can hope for right now is that they lose the rest of their games and draft the offensive lineman 1 in the draft.
Imagine if they would have taken Penei Sewell over Jamar Chase. Just imagine.
Well, then they wouldn't have Jamar Chase, but
yeah, but they would have offensive line protection for a quarterback who has had 2 serious injuries.
That's true. Yeah.
Just saying. It makes you think. It makes you wonder. That's all. And then AFC South, Jacksonville and Houston. Okay,
who you got? Who do you have?
Houston. Okay. I think CJ Stroud is a menace. His name didn't come up in our little MVP conversation we had. I know he had a bad second half yesterday, but the dude's just great.
Yeah.
Some of the interceptions he had this past week were bad, but he's pushing the ball. He's doing it. We sang the praises of Tank Dell, but he's also doing it with Noah Brown and Dalton Schultz and Nico Collins. He is so impressive that he's doing this in year 1.
I think they found their run game too. I wish I would let this be a lesson to people playing fantasy. If you like a guy and he's in a horrible situation, you should try to get him anyway. Because Devin Singletary, he was one of my favorite running backs, and as soon as he got to Houston, I was like, "Wow, this is done." Because Dameon Pierce is there, and Houston's offensive line sucks at running the ball.
Yeah,
but he looks real, man. He looks like the real deal.
He does.
That being said, I'm taking the Jags.
All right, we'll see how it ends up. All right, that's gonna do it for a quicker episode of Making the Call. Like I mentioned at the top, tune in to the Making the Call Substack on Wednesday for our football newsletter, getting you ready for all the football action that we've got over Thanksgiving and everything. Rosie, real quick, favorite Thanksgiving side dish?
Green bean casserole, baby.
Okay. All right.
I love green bean casserole.
All right. I got to go with we make hash brown casserole in our family, and it's delicious. That's always a hit. I hope everyone listening, I hope everyone who reads a Substack has a very happy Thanksgiving. Spend some time with family. Spend some time, enjoying all the extra football, enjoying all the good food. Wear the stretchy pants. Just do it all. It's just Thanksgiving's a great holiday. I hope everyone soaks up this week and enjoys it. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, I do have a Thanksgiving dad joke for you, Rosie.
Wonderful.
If pilgrims were still alive today, you know what they would be known for?
What?
Their age.
Oh, man.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode and making the call. I think I gave all the program reminders. So I just hope everyone has a very happy Thanksgiving. And we'll
Liquid IV?
Oh, quick. Okay, Liquid IV ad read.
Someone hasn't had their Liquid IV today.
I haven't.
That's why you forgot.
I went out of town. We went on a family trip with like all my siblings and stuff 2 weekends ago. I brought the bag of the hydration multiplier, the tangerine with the immune support with me. Family cleaned it out. We went on a hike. I said, hey, who needs some Liquid IV? And I was like, oh, I'll take some. I was like, cool. You can get some of your own as well. If you use code MTC, you get 20% off at liquidiv.com. So I need to go reorder some more because I am all cleaned out of Liquid IV. But yes, we love them here. Hydrate you twice as fast as water alone, 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks. You can use code MTC at checkout and get 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MTC at liquidiv.com. All right. Thanks for the reminder, Rosie. I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving. Go Cowboys. Go Lions. I hope everyone wins all their bets, and we will see you next time.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks for hopping on early.
Yeah. Happy
right on the dot,
man.
6:30. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Hey, remind me, when's the due date?
May 17th.
May 17th. Okay.
So we got a bit.
And it's a girl?
Yeah, it's a girl.
Okay. Awesome.
We just had an announcement pictures taken yesterday.
Nice.
So,
that's exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, I got to run. I'll see you.
See you.